Good morning, Chicago and the rest of the world. Welcome to the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. I am your host with the most, the man with the plan, Scotty Pippen, podcast pimping. And you all, this is our final episode of this season. I'm here with my main man. He is the music mogul in the making, the Rashid Wallace of podcast knowledge, and the G of Genius Lab, my homie, my brother, the co-host, Big Stu.
What's to it, E-Money? What's to it, baby boy?
What's going on,
season
my
finale.
Brother? Yes, sir. We made it. I'm always excited. We made it through a season. This one was good. Yeah. How you doing,
man? We pushed. Let's talk about a push.
Yeah, it was a push. It was Fire fans. This was our most disorganized season, but we got it done. We didn't have the structure of previous seasons, but that's cool. We wanted to get these shows out. So how you doing, brother?
I'm well, man. I'm focusing on abundance and all things good. No focus on lack. There is no lack. It's only prosperity and abundance. And so that's my focus. How are you, my brother?
I'm good. I love that mindset. I'm focusing on the same thing, and making 2023 one of my best years. That's one of my goals.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
No doubt.
I saw somebody post. I saw some video, some brothers sitting around talking. I don't remember exactly what it was. I take in so much content, but it was basically saying, hey, if you ask your guys, if you and your guys don't have a $1 million plan. If they don't have a $1 million plan, you may want to separate yourself. Another guy was like, why? I said, because if they don't have a $1 million plan for themselves, then they'll hate on you and your ambition for having one. So you got to be around cats that have the same ambition, if not greater than you, right?
I love that.
Love to have the same mindset, brother. This is what we doing. We pushing towards excellence, Black excellence.
No question. Excellence and generational wealth.
Yes.
At all times. All right. So MSG Nation, we are talking to you today about, well, as I always like to say every week, if you like thought-provoking conversations, because you might not, and that's cool. But if you like that, subscribe to our YouTube channel. All you got to do is type in Money, Sex, Gen X. We are currently streaming in 53 countries. And 440 cities globally. That number has actually gone up, so that's cool. Wow. You can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, all the major streaming platforms. If you're interested, if you're streaming on Apple right now, go in and leave us a review. And if you're out there and you're looking to share your expertise, we're putting together some packages for next season. If you're out there and you're super cold at something, you're like a really good attorney, a dope architect, a not-for-profit leader, and you do the work and you have a great reputation, but you just don't have the audience that you like. You want to talk to more people. This is going to be your venue to do that. Money, Sex, Gen X. So hit us up. We'll give you some more information about those packages that are coming down, but I wanted to throw that in.
Let me make sure that they have the email address. I'll just throw it right there on the screen in case they want to get to you. McLeod@moneysexgenxpodcast.com.
Yes. And when you hit me up, let me know what you want to talk about so we can structure an episode around that. All right. Yeah. So, Stu, today, this is episode 43. Do I have that right?
Looks like you got it right, man. Episode 43.
Right. And our title is, should you take out student loans?
Should you take out student loans?
It's a good question. I think Stu and I don't know if I've talked to Stu about student loans before, so I'm really interested to see what his history is and experiences are with that. I like to start off by getting into why we wanted to do the episode, but let me ask Stu, what is your history with student loans? Do you have a history with them?
Unfortunately, I do. It's not pleasant.
Okay.
I still carry a large amount of student loan debt today. So I do have a relationship with student loans. So this is an interesting topic as far as I'm concerned.
All right, cool. So We did an episode many seasons ago called "Is College a Joke?"
Yeah.
It was one of our most hotly contested. I faced some personal backlash from that episode. And and it was because I think people felt like I was saying, it was a waste of time to go to college. I think people felt like I was a hypocrite because many people know I've gone to college. I don't feel like that's what I was trying to get across, but that's how it was taken. And so it is what it is. I'm glad that they tuned in. It was definitely a great conversation. But today it's really more about, you'd think this would just be for younger people, but you got a lot of older people who are thinking about going back and getting advanced degrees.
Yeah.
So it's really a professional conversation. And yes, I definitely took out 6 figures in student loan debt. There's no question about it. Most of that was for advanced degrees and certificates. It wasn't really undergrad, so that's good. But I want to get into some actual factuals about student loan debt. 1.75 trillion in total student loan debt in this country. That's federal and private. The average borrower owes $28,950 to. 90% of that debt is Fed loans, and then the remaining is private student loans, which I also took out some private student loans. 55% of the students who got loans were from 4-year institutions. 57% of those people 55% of the students that have student loans are from 4-year institutions. And then there's 57% of people who went to private 4-year institutions and took out debt. And this was an interesting statistic that relates to us a little bit as Gen X. Borrowers ages 35 to 49 owe more than $620 billion in student loans. And this cohort has the highest number of borrowers who owe more than $100,000.
Well, I'm contributing to that debt.
That's so am I. Sure. I'm in that cohort of people,
in that cohort.
Unfortunately. So, just some little jewels about student loans. So my first thing I want to get into about this, Stu, is I always like to start off with, is there another way? Is there another way to just avoid the student loan debt? And maybe this might turn into a master class on how to finance your college education. We'll see how it goes. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, are there other ways that we know the scholarships and all that, but just like more of a strategic way to avoid the debt?
I honestly am not 100% sure. And honestly, hey, Stu's moment of transparency. All of my student loan debt is undergrad, bro, because my advanced degree was paid for by my former employer, past employer.
Yeah.
They paid for full ride for me to go back to. I was like, what? Let me take full advantage of that. So I got my master's for free, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure of other ways outside of scholarships and tuition reimbursement programs through employers. I know it was interesting. So I have a son who's 14, and we were coming out of a McDonald's one day, and they had a sign up talking about their benefits of working for McDonald's, and they offered tuition reimbursement. I was like, man, this is dope right here. Going to school for free. This is dope. So I was explaining to him what that meant. I don't know. What about, I'm sure you've got some inside tips about how to do this. So I'm at your feet today, brother.
Yeah, well, the tips that I have, I wish I had them when I was taking out the debt, my brother. I really do. But yeah, you mentioned something really good, which was, going to your employer. And, my wife does career coaching and executive coaching. And it's like one of these conversations that I know comes up with some of her clients is using that as a strategy to figure out where you want to work. Like you said, McDonald's has this, Chipotle, Starbucks, I'm sure some of these Fortune 500 companies, you said yourself, you got tuition paid for. I did too, some, so using that as a strategy. Scholarships, I know we all know about scholarships, but I feel like just being realistic, a lot of people don't want to spend the time to find the scholarships, right? If it's not already in the package that's coming back from the school, a lot of times people don't want to spend that time to try to figure that out.
Scholarships is a job. Applying for scholarships is a job. It's a part-time job.
Yeah,
It's a part-time job.
sure.
20 hours a week is what's required at the minimum to get, you hear these stories about students that get $1 million in scholarships. Some of that is recruitment. Some of that is, stuff that universities are throwing at those kids for their academic achievements. But a good portion of that is also students applying for the scholarships. Definitely. And so it's a job for sure.
It is, no doubt. And then we have what I would like to see our culture get a little better at, and I didn't do as well as I could have either, is actually saving for your child to go to college. So having money available that they don't have to borrow, it's just available, That's definitely an option.
It's funny. Just yesterday I was thinking about, you talk a lot about this, budgeting. And I want to make sure we stay on track with this topic. But saving money requires a particular skill set that is rooted in discipline, financial discipline. There are so many things that you have to save for. Of course, also with learning where to put your money. So, everybody who follows us by now should know that, and maybe they don't, maybe we haven't addressed this clearly enough. Just having your money sitting in a savings account ain't gonna cut it. Definitely having your money sitting under the mattress or in the shoebox ain't gonna cut it. That's not gonna be enough. And so when you saving money, we're not just saying put it away in the corner and wait for it. We're saying take some money, put it somewhere where it can work for you and multiply. But yet and still, I was really focusing on the piece about saving money takes a real skill. It's a real skill to have the financial discipline to save up, particularly when we live in a consumer-fied world. So hopefully you'll talk about some of that, man. I mean, yes, saving money, but saving for your college tuition. You want to talk a little bit about the best ways to do that? Like, I'm 22 years old. Like, how does this work? I'm 52 years old. How does this work?
I'm glad you brought that up. And it's because really, that's not the right word. What we should have said is investing. And for the reason you said, if you try to save the money, and we know inflation is out of control right now. So if you try to go the savings route, as you said, it's going to take so long to get the money, or you just have what they call an opportunity cost, because you could have, like you said, put the money somewhere else and got a higher rate of return, so that when your child goes to college or when you go to college, there's just more money available. And so you have vehicles like 529 college plans, which I'm not a super big fan of, but it's a vehicle. You have life insurance policies that you can use that have cash value. So there's different tools that you can use to accumulate that money faster that are out here.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't try to save it in a bank account.
So what else do we do? Okay, taking scholarships out of it, we can invest money into future college fund. Sure. But we also said at the top of this show that this isn't necessarily just for young folks. This is for us. We're talking to us who need to upskill, because we know that there is, well, at least I don't know if you all know, but I believe that there is some prejudice in the workforce, in the corporate world, against hiring, folks of a certain age or older, right?
Ageism, yeah.
Ageism, there it is. And so if you're 40 or older, you're not as attractive to employers as you once were. So if I want to upskill, I want to go to Kellogg, take me an executive MBA program or executive certificate program. I want to, look, it's been 20 years since I've gotten my master's, bro. I need some upskilling, right? Things have changed in 20 years. What do you suggest, man? I'm already on a budget. How do I do this? So should you take this is like, what's up?
Great point. So yeah, you definitely want to go start with your employer, but you can also start with organizations that you're doing work for. With me attending Kellogg, one thing that was helpful is that I had a leadership background, initially doing not-for-profit work. And so that allowed me access to some scholarships and money that if I had just gone in just based on my job, wouldn't have been available. So just really starting to look at, if you're thinking about specific schools, go talk to them to see what they have available. I know sometimes we don't want to do that because we're just worried about can we get in and all of that. We got to move past the can we get in conversation and start expecting that you're going to get in. But when I get in, how am I going to finance this thing? And student people throw around the word finance a lot. I want to make sure we explain what that means. When I say the word finance, I'm talking about simply how do I pay for this? Figuring out how I'm going to pay for something. Going back to your employer and saying, hey, I know you all don't give full scholarships, but do you have a tuition reimbursement program, or do you have any partial things that you can do? What's available to me as an employee? And like I said before, getting that straight on the front end before you even go work there. I have seen entrepreneurs that their family invested in them, Stu, because they were going for something very specific. I'm in a mastermind group and I saw a panel within that where this man was saying that he paid for his sister, I believe it was, to become a lawyer because they knew that they were going to need a corporate or in-house counsel for businesses that they were building. And I thought that was super dope and just very visionary for them to be thinking like that. And she completed it. She completed her law degree, came back and did what she was supposed to do for the family and had other experiences. So the point is like people investing, the family investing in you and saying, hey, yeah, we'll support you to go to school.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that that sister showed a certain level of interest and an ability, a desire to perform in that capacity, where the family was like, "Hey, let's put our resources behind sister.
Mm-hmm.
Sister want it. Sister gonna go get it. So let's support sister because she got the attorney in her anyway."
No question.
Yeah.
No question. So yeah, those are a few ways, and there's no cookie cutter way to do it. It's just really sitting down and figuring out a game plan. And you might feel like, well, the people in my circle aren't the right people to figure out the game plan. You might have to go get some help. Somebody who's in the financial industry, you could go to someone who's been to that school already, someone that you just know has a great track record of avoiding a lot of debt with school. It doesn't have to be it could be a team of people. It could be a team, a money team. You could put together a money team, Stu, to figure out how are we going to get the $150,000 for me to go to law school.
So that's the other one of the other questions that I want to talk about: the cost of school and the choice of school. We're both representing our respective universities today. You with Northwestern, myself with Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, one of the schools that I attended and I represent proudly. My question is, how important is it to go to a particular school, particularly at this stage, right, in our lives? We got Phoenix online, we got Capella University, and then, of course, we have our Harvards and our U of C's and our Northwesterns of the world, our Loyolas of the world.
Mm-hmm.
What are your takes on, how important is that, or is it important at all at this stage in the game for us Gen Xers?
Man, that's a fabulous question. So I went to a number of different schools, including an online school, Walden University. I went to Loyola and I went to Kellogg. And I feel like that question is answered based on what did you actually need at the time. Because as many mistakes as I made with my education, I was good at understanding why I was going to that particular school. And so looking at what is this school known for? So and me thinking about why did I go to Kellogg, for example, it was really simple. I feel like I needed people to take me seriously when I stepped in a room and talked about business. I'm the same person whether I went there or not, but I knew if people knew that I went to that school, they would treat me a certain way. And I was concerned about that because of the things that I was involved in. And I was right. When I was dealing with law and real estate, I went to Loyola because I knew that that school was taken very seriously for law and transactional work. And so I did that. Walden, I went there because I knew that was my introduction to business, actually. I went there because I liked the fact that they had an online program where you could do your schoolwork with other people internationally. And so I got a chance to learn how other people think about these topics on a daily basis. And that expanded my business acumen tremendously because you don't get that in these other programs. You're there in person. It sure has changed now, but back then you're there in person. There wasn't really an online component. So I knew I needed that because I was starting from ground zero. I didn't come from an entrepreneurship background. Many of my family members were blue collar workers. And so it's the why to answer your question. Why are you going? And keep it real. There's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, I want to go to Harvard because I want people to give me that respect. If that's why you really want to go, then that's why you should go. Now, I do have respect for HBCUs, but the reason why I didn't go is because at that time, I lived in an area where Norfolk State and Hampton were, and I partied on those campuses and I hung out there. I knew that I could not make it there I couldn't get any work done in those environments. I just already knew that because I had been there in other capacities. So you just have to really be honest and ask yourself why. And that's the bottom line. So in these what they call them PWIs, I was able to focus more. There were less distractions for me.
I recently had a conversation, and those are great answers. I hope that people are first realizing and identifying, why do you want to go to school? Why do you want to go to this school? How is this school revered for whatever it is that you're interested in? I do find that most people are doing that, and whatever capacity. I chose this school because they have a great art program and they have a great music program, whatever. Okay, so I get that. But now we're in this space. I was told by a young man from a millennial, a young millennial, and actually, I think this is a Gen Zer. It's not even a millennial. I think this was a Gen Zer who was like, Stu, don't nobody care about them degrees no more, man. Like, just like ain't nobody paying for all this school no more. That's old. That's out of there. Like, you can learn everything on your own. People just care about your execution. Nobody cares about these titles and these certificates. And I was trying to explain. I was like, I hear you, young brother. And I was like, but nah, man. I said, there's still a expectation that you are certified in a particular area. Like, what's your proof that you know what you know, or that you have the credentials? Like, where's your credentials? Where you? And like, man, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your credentials, man. Just, can you get it done? To show the receipts. The receipts are your credentials. I said, wow.
That's a great conversation. I think that's what we were trying to get to with our episode about his college a joke. And I remember saying that it was a joke, and I was saying it in the context of if you think that you need to go to college to be successful, it's a joke. That is an actual joke in today's times. Even myself, if I had come up in today's times, I don't think I would have went to college because I never wanted to go to college anyway. I felt like I had to. Today, I would not feel like I had to go to college. So yes, but if you're out there and you're like, hey, I want to be an attorney, an engineer, an architect, these professional designations, you're going to have to go to school. You can't be a lawyer without a law degree. That's just nothing has changed about that. You can't be an engineer without the engineering, can't be a nurse or a doctor without those degrees. Nothing has changed about that. So entrepreneurship has changed, but professional careers, many of them are still the same as far as what they require.
Even as, and you and I are both entrepreneurs, but we also both have we have degrees in business.
Yeah.
We both have a focus in business. Now, I'm finding that a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling on the front end because they don't have the foundation of business. They don't have the business foundation that I think at some point you have to sit down with a professional and get some education. You got to get some education, you got to get the fundamentals of just what it is that you're even doing. So going back to this, and we got to this conversation talking about what school what does it matter what school you choose and how much you're spending on education, because should you take out a student loan, well, do I need a student loan to go to a city college? Well, should I be thinking about going to a city college? Do I need a HBCU versus a PWI? Which level of PWI?
Do I need a degree to get respect? If I really just ultimately want respect, do I need a degree for that? No.
Because at the end of the day, show me the success. Like, how are you successful in what you're doing? And I think that's a really good conversation between academia and practitioners.
Definitely. And I hope we're being clear about this. I hope we're being clear. I'm glad you brought these up. I mean, it's about why for me. Why? Why are you going to the school? And I know you said beyond like, oh, I know I want to go there because they have a great journalism program, but I'm going beyond that. Why do you want to go to that school, to that program? Why really? Do you want to feel good? Or is it because you actually feel like you need to go there to be successful? And you got to keep it real. I'm being real about why I went to certain schools. Some of it was intangible. It wasn't because, I know if I go here, I'll be, because I never planned on being in corporate for the rest of my life. So it wasn't about that for me. But what is it about for you?
Yeah, I remember, and I liked your answer. You chose the schools, and particularly North Kellogg, because you said out your mouth, if I got it correct, you knew that you wanted to be taken seriously for business. And so that's why you chose that school, who was very recognized for business. Right. And I chose
business, not entrepreneurship.
Business, not entrepreneurship, right? I know for me, I was just like, I just got to get a degree. I just want to get a degree. Like, I know I need a degree. And I figured, and I knew I was like, once I get my degree, I can take it from there. I got it from there. Let me just get the degree. I almost didn't. I cared to some degree. I was like, let me get a degree from an HBCU. That's all it was. Like, let me get a degree. I started off in broadcast journalism, and I got to Southern, who had one of the top broadcast journalism programs in the country. Next to there's a school at Northwestern. They had one that was Medill, right? I didn't qualify to get into Medill. I wasn't accepted into Medill. I couldn't afford Medill. Going back to this question about the student loans, I didn't even consider taking out a student loan for Medill. But Medill was on my radar. Like, man, that's Northwestern. But I want to be further away from home. I want to go to a HBCU. So that's what it was for me. It was always about affordability and, to some degree, convenience.
Okay.
And I don't think that was the best measurement for choosing what school to go to. I like the answer. Like, ultimately, if you're going to get the best return on the investment for the education, whether you're paying out of pocket or getting a student loan, you really should be saying which one is going to give you the most credibility in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when I went to the online school, that kind of hurt me my psyche a little bit, because I knew why I was there, but I knew if I told somebody that it wasn't, at that time, online schools did not have a good reputation. I don't care how good it was. And that was actually a spectacular program. But back then, it just wasn't, that wasn't it. So I had to take a hit psychologically, Stu, because I knew why I was doing it, and I just didn't necessarily talk about it that much. But I was used to going to a school that had like, oh, you went there. I was used to that. Even I missed the school that I went to. I went to so many schools, but I also went to Columbia College, which is how I ended up working for Oprah Winfrey at Harpo Studios. And so if you're talking about television and film, that's one of the top schools you can go to. And they have a tremendous network of very successful people that are in the media now that went to that school. So I was used to that. So sometimes you got to take a hit if you're going for a reason other than name recognition. You just have to do it.
Makes sense.
It is what it is.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's a great conversation. So one of the things I wanted to talk about too is, we always talk about these degrees, but like, will this actually, and this is a factor to think about, will this increase my earning potential? Mm-hmm. So you're about to go drop $175,000. Are you going to make more money after that? Mm. And that's where you have to really start thinking about, like, what is the career outlook for the career that I'm investing in? Am I actually investing in a career like we talked about, or am I investing in something intangible? What are the interest rates on the debt? So I went in and did some research. Right now for federal student loans for undergrad, the interest rates are 4.99%. Grad loan rates are 6.54%. And plus loans, I believe it was 5.9 something percent. I had it in here, I lost it, but it was almost 6%, I believe. So what is the debt going to cost me? And see, I didn't think about that when I was going to school. My thought was, I'm not going to pay this back.
It's funny that you say that, because I did not have a clear understanding of how to even repay a loan. I didn't think that I wasn't going to pay it back. I just thought it was going to be super fast, easy to pay it back. Like, oh, I'll take out this loan for, and my loans at the time wasn't, but 1 year loan for $20K, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, my starting job would be $35,000, so I should be able to pay back $20,000 easy. Like, I was just all messed up with that concept.
You had a better mindset than me, because I was like, I ain't paying none of this back.
That ain't even right.
And guess what? I've met some professionals that made me feel better. I'm not the only person who thought like that. Like, I know people who have $300K in debt, and they were like, I didn't think I was going to pay this stuff back. And so let's talk about that real quick, because there's somebody out there with my old mindset. If you're in the I'm not going to pay this back camp, I want you to think about one thing. You could probably avoid paying it for some years and all of that, but remember, it's going to be on your credit. And if you are thinking about investing in real estate or doing anything significant with your credit profile, even though it's not a barrier, even if you're not paying, they're going to calculate what your payment is going to be when you do start repaying it, and they're going to add that to your debt to income ratio. You can guarantee that is guaranteed. So for those who might not be familiar with debt to income ratio, just think about it like this. They're going to calculate if you can get the loan for the real estate based on whether you're actually paying it back or not. So if you got $150,000 in student loan debt and your loan repayment is going to be $1,800 a month, they're going to calculate that like you're actually paying it. So it's going to be factored in, and it could stop you from doing a couple of things, depending on what the numbers are. So it's something to consider. So you'll pay one way or the other is my point.
That's why I'm hopeful that these reparation bills go through, brother. That's one of the first things I want taken care of is student loan debts for African Americans. Wipe my stuff clean and get it off my report.
Yeah,
it has been a barrier for sure.
Yes, it's on your credit.
It seems insurmountable at times when you think about it. But going back to initially what I was talking about at the top of this is like the discipline required to stick to the budget and invest and save you gotta get on it. You gotta like double down, triple down on the discipline required to handle this business, to generate
Yeah.
wealth, to create generational wealth.
And you know what? Here's a way to do that. If you don't trust yourself, really, just have it removed automatically. Set up auto pay or auto, auto. If you're investing, it would be auto deductions from your account to go into an investment account. If it's insurance, have your automatic premium come out. That way, you don't have to really worry about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it is hard, but you can make it a little bit easier on yourself. And just don't mess with it. Just leave the money alone. Act like it's not there.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
All right, so let's keep moving. Hey, if you're just turning in, you are rocking with the Money, Sex, Gen X
Season finale.
podcast, season number 6. Season finale, episode number 43. Should you take out student loans? A very personal question, Stu. And guess what? We talked about some great things. I want to go to this. I learned this from my wife as well. So you go get the degree, but are you factoring in, Stu, what personal development will you need aside from the degree?
Sheesh.
So say you want to be a CEO in a Fortune 500 company. Are you going to need some executive presence training? Are you going to need some speaking, training? Are you going to need training on networking? And how much is that going to cost? What's the cost for that?
Mm-hmm. Good point.
So you might want to add that to your budget. So yeah, I got to spend this for college, but what am I going to need for my executive development?
It's just like when you think about buying a house, a lot of times people forget to calculate the maintenance, the yearly maintenance, the filters, the air filters,
That's right.
the plumbing, the wiping down of baseboards, right? And bathroom tiles and kitchen tile. All of that goes into it as well. So it's not just the the mortgage payment and cutting grass. It's the upkeep to ensure that asset remains valuable and is beating the appreciation of inflation.
Yeah, that's right. And also, let's talk about, when you talk about what else will you need, what other experiences will you need to be taken seriously? I always encourage younger professionals, try to sit on a board of directors for some organization. Like if you could find a decent organization, get on that board, because people are going to evaluate you based on your leadership experience also. I don't care what field you're in. You could have went to Medill and you're a journalist and all that, but if you can say, hey, I actually sit on 3 boards and we have this, and this focus, you'll be looked at differently than somebody who doesn't do that. And I'm speaking to the people out there that are looking for credibility. Now, if you don't care about that and it's just about money, you got a different set of considerations. But if it's about building respect, credibility, and confidence. So sometimes we go to schools to build confidence. I feel like I did that as well. But I think as an alternative, you might be able to build that confidence doing stuff like sitting on boards. Could help you. And I know, Stu, you've got some experience with that. What are your thoughts on that? Is that helpful? Has it been helpful for you?
Absolutely. People do take you a bit more seriously when you can say that you sit on the board. And I was able to leverage one of my board positions that now I'm one of the vice presidents of the board. Okay. And so that's super important as well. And I do find there's some value in that. It holds a little weight. It gives you a little bit more leverage when discussing your opportunities or my opportunities to continue to move the needle forward, particularly in the space of helping others with their businesses. So yeah, it's like, man, how'd you do that? How do you build these relationships? Because that's a big part of the success, no matter if you're an employee or not, or a business owner. How do you grow? How do you maintain relationships? How do you build relationships? How do you get up that ladder? So,
yeah. Definitely. And I want to go back to the vehicles real quick because I kind of glossed over that. But you do have the 529 plans. You have something called Coverdell ESAs. You got these trust accounts that they refer to as UGMA, UTMA accounts, and you can also use your Roth IRAs. But you can also use life insurance.
Yeah.
The great thing about life insurance as this tool is this: the 529 is a great tool, but you got to remember a couple of things. Number one, the child has to use that money for college, or you're going to get penalized. That's one of the biggest things that you got to keep in mind. Also, the rates of return might not be as good as other vehicles. If you do it through a life insurance policy, many times you kind of know what the rate of return is going to be depending on what vehicle you use. Like, say you use a whole life policy, you already know what the rate of return is, and so you can plan accordingly. But also, when you take the distributions from it, the tax implications are different. So you got to weigh out, even with that. Don't let somebody come up to you and say, you need to do a 529. Maybe. You have to examine your situation to see what the best vehicle is for you and your family.
Yeah,
So
and I think that this I know you talked about, hey, this conversation is not just for the young folks, but us adults now who have, many of us are starting to have grandchildren. And so if you don't have any grandchildren, and start thinking about how do you set your grandchildren up after you're gone.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
that's a way to also build generational wealth. Even if you haven't done it yet, is by setting up the next generation to have a better footing. Everybody doesn't have to get it out the mud. Some people can get it out the garden.
Definitely. And that brings up another point that we definitely need to talk about. So we're getting into older people plus loans. So a plus loan is a loan that the parent would get for your child to go to college, right? So it sounds like Stu and I, we got our own loan. I don't know what your parents did. I think my parents may have taken out one small plus loan, but the rest of it was on me, which is, it is what it is. So if you're out there thinking, like, when we say you might be thinking, should you take them out for your children? Thankfully, I haven't had to do that yet because I have a daughter who's a sophomore in college, but I will do it, but I will only do it based on what she's studying. Because I had to have a long talk with my daughter about, we're not going to go to school and be studying general business and general this and general that. You need to have a specialization. And I will invest in that. You want to be a lawyer, which she says she wants to be a lawyer, that's fine. But it needed to be something specific where I know you can come out and command a high salary for what it is you're doing. I will not invest in anything general. That's just me. So that could be something that you could use. Yes, definitely look at those interest rates and see what is the interest rates. And when it's time for repayment, can you afford that?
This is a high level conversation.
It really is.
This is a high level conversation, brother. This ain't for the hemming and hawing of folks, because you're really setting a precedent for your children and your grandchildren, like how to make a decision, how to commit and follow through and get a return on your investment of not only money, but time.
Yeah, man. And I just looked up these interest rates for these plus loans. They're 7.54%.
That's pretty high compared to.
So let's throw those interest rates back out there. 4.99 for undergrad, 6.54 for grad loan, and 7.54 for parent loans, the plus loan. That's a lot. So definitely factor that in. That's a lot for some debt.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So we've had this has been a good conversation here about the evaluation process. What else would you like to add on this conversation about, should a person get a student loan? I mean, I don't remember what your perspective was on the is the college a joke conversation, but how do you factor that into this conversation?
Yeah. So my perspective on this college a joke. I'm and have been a university professor who would tell students flat out, you don't need me to learn. You can learn this stuff anywhere. You can learn it on YouTube. You can go to the library and pick up books about and study business, right? But I think for the credentialing, to your point, if you want to be taken seriously, get a degree, get certified for sure. And of course, where you get certified will, of course, indicate how others perceive you in that space. But you don't need to go to college to learn. Now, of course, there is exception, like you've already said, those professional industries, of course, you need to go to college to be a doctor, an attorney. I really think it's, really just like doctors and attorneys. You'd have to, where else would an engineer, architect.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to go to college for political science.
Scientists. I've met a lot of Black scientists lately.
Okay, science, but I would put that in okay, so STEM fields,
educators.
You don't need to go to college to be an educator.
Well, no,
one of them.
Well, no, I know that, but when you want to work in the school system as a teacher, and I know the distinction. If you want to, you can do it the way you're doing it, where you're contracting to work with the school system. But I'm talking about if you want to be a teacher paid by the school system to be teaching in the classroom, my understanding is that you need degrees and a lot of different certifications.
So interesting. I taught in the classroom for 15 years, Chicago Public Schools. I did not go to school to become a teacher. My background is in business. So one of the requirements is to be a teacher. You need a degree.
Okay, so you have to have, but not a degree.
You have to have a degree. You can have a degree in anything. But you do need to pass those certifications that you are correct about that. But you don't need to go to school to be a teacher,
Okay, I'm glad you pointed that out, because somebody out there might be thinking like, I got it. Okay, so you need a degree, but you might go study philosophy,
history, art. Maybe you went to school for auto mechanics, right?
That's good.
So the first things first. So the premise, what's my take on this college a joke? If you're there you could be there for the wrong reason, right? If you just want to learn a subject, you can go learn it. But if you want to be acknowledged and credible, then definitely you want to go to it. I'm recommending that you go somewhere and get certified for sure.
Psychiatry, I'm thinking of too.
Gotta get certified. I'm on that fence, right? I would prefer to take my car to the official mechanic versus the alley mechanic. The alley mechanic may be cheaper and could probably get the job done, but I want that guarantee on service. So I'm looking for the guy who is certified, period. And in almost everything. Now, the other question that you asked was about, and I think I lost the point. What'd you ask me, E? What'd you ask me?
How would you tie in the college as a joke into what we're talking about now?
Yeah.
I don't remember what your perspective was in that conversation.
Yeah. So
just in general, not specifically, but just in general, is college a joke at this point? Because if it's a joke, it ain't no point in taking out any loans in general. Like, you could just go online and run an online business and be fine.
No, college is not a joke. It's serious. You should really be thinking about credentialing, getting some certifications in something.
Okay.
Do you take out a student loan for it? I think is the question. I'm looking for you to go to school without debt. I particularly my people. How do you get certified without debt? Period. Just how do you do it without debt? Just don't carry any debt. I don't want you to take out a student loan if you don't have to. If you can't pay it back, if you're not going to get that return, that's not the debt that we need. I don't think so. Particularly if you don't have the discipline to pay it back, financial discipline. because they're doctors and scientists and engineers, attorneys who have $500,000 in debt and still don't have the financial discipline to take care of it, and who live paycheck to paycheck. They got the cars, they got the house, they got the clothes, they got the Viking kitchen and all of this other good stuff, but in debt.
Well, let's do this. We're going to use me as a case study. And this ties into Eric's burning question for this week, because it ties into what we're talking about. And the burning question this week is, did Eric McLeod, who was me, did I get a good ROI? Did I get a good return on investment on my student loan investment, right? And we're going to use me as a case study. So I went back, Stu, and added up while I was in corporate. And I'm not using the entrepreneurship stuff because it's not relevant, because I didn't need a degree for that, and we know that. But I was in corporate for 15 years, okay? I went back and added up my salary for the whole 15, because I was always very concerned about how much money I was making. So I knew what they were. It didn't take long. I made $1.4 million while I was in corporate for that 15-year period, which averaged out to $93,000 a year for 15 years. Even today, the median American worker brings in $54,132. Only 18% of Americans make $100,000, so I was right there on that $100,000 on average. 34.4 make over $100K. So if you were to ask me, should I have taken out student loans? My answer would be yes, because there's no way I would have made $93,000. And that $93,000 is factoring in the years when I was making $30,000 and 30. I was making some really low salaries coming in. The last salaries were very high. So even with all of that, I averaged $93,000. So for me, I would say yes. There's no way I would have made that on my own. Didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, didn't have a career coach, none of that. I had to just figure it out. Now, did I have to do it the way that I did it? Here's the mistakes that I made. The private loans that I took out, I should have absolutely not have taken those out. And I got most of those at Loyola. And Loyola, I love you. I'm also a Loyola alum. I love Loyola, but that's what really, I racked up a lot of debt at Loyola, private and otherwise. Not because of them, it's just because my mindset was just off. I had access to getting some loans and I got them, and I didn't even need them. I also could have done it cheaper by being clear on my major. So I played around in college for many years. I went to a bunch of schools I didn't even name because I don't even halfway remember them, but I went to a lot of schools, played around for a long time. If I had been clear on my major and stopped playing around, what I would have done in retrospect is I would have went to Harold Washington, because I went to Harold Washington too. I would have went to Harold Washington and done all of my prerequisites there. That's every last one. I would have signed an agreement to go to my next school so that I knew that the credits transferred over. That would have cut out a lot of debt that I had. So, I made a really good salary from going to college, but how I did it in terms of using student loans could have been way more efficient. And if you're out there and you're trying to figure out how to do this, hit me up. Use the same email that Stu is giving you. I coach a lot of people on how to do this without hurting yourself now and in the future. And guess what? We're going to keep it real. You want to go to Harvard? Let's do it. But let's figure out how to do it in a way that makes sense and that you can get that. I got my ROI. Even all the mistakes I made, I still got it. Now, I know way more now, so I can definitely help you get that ROI.
I think that's big, brother. I didn't do the math, but I know that I got a good ROI on my student loan investment. I know 100% I did. Yeah. I did recently calculate how much I've made over the course of my working adult career, and it was in the millions. It was over $1 million for sure. Yeah. And I'm talking within a 20-year period. Yeah. Clearly. Clearly.
You probably worked longer than me.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You probably worked longer. Not because you're that much older. It's just I feel like you got started before I did. I was playing around for years. Yeah. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I have less than I have about 100K, maybe less than 125K. And so I got my ROI. I got a good ROI on that. Even at 100K,
Yeah.
you give if I could give you 100K and you'll make $1 million, great. You know what I mean? That's good money. Now, what I want to figure out going forward is, how does it not take me that long to make that $1 million? It shouldn't take me 15 years to
That's
make
a
it.
whole nother show.
That's a whole. I don't want to do it in 15 years.
We're in the same boat with that.
I'm trying to do that
How can we
this
make
year?
$1 million in one day?
A day, a month, right? You know what I mean?
That's that Myron Golden talk. Like, how can I make $1 million today?
Today, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a mind shift for me. But so to your point, good burning question. And I think everybody should ask that. So, and now I think now knowing that, it becomes, I think, a little bit easier to say, you know what? I got my money's worth. I should be paying this thing back.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fine. You know, I don't mind it now because, the other thing, and I did a post on LinkedIn about that. I wish I had pulled it up, but I was saying that by me investing in myself to go to college and pay all this money, I took out 150. That was my number. So compared 150 to make 1.4 million. It makes it easier for me to invest in myself as an entrepreneur. If you can spend that kind of money to go to college to learn a bunch of stuff, now definitely at Kellogg I'll learn a lot of relevant information for sure, and definitely Loyola and Columbia College, all of the schools. But when we're talking about entrepreneurship, that's a totally that stuff doesn't necessarily help with entrepreneurship. So yeah, I'll spend 30,000 or whatever I got to spend to invest in myself as an entrepreneur. It's easy because you just spent 150 to go to college.
And you got your money back 10 times, almost 10 times over.
Right. So if I was to invest 150,000 in myself, imagine what I could do. But I probably wouldn't be willing to do that if I hadn't done that for college. Because, and the reason why I bring that up is I hear a lot of cases about people who had the opportunity to go to college and study something relevant, and they don't do it because they don't want a $20,000 student loan. And I want us to really broaden our evaluation process. It's like, I know nobody wants to get debt, but debt isn't always bad when you look at it as leverage. You're using somebody else's money so that you can get access to something that you wouldn't normally have access to. I know your family doesn't have the 150 for you to go to school. Mine didn't either. But debt allowed me to get access to that money so I could do it. Debt is not always bad. It depends on what you're leveraging it for. So I want people to really think about don't not go to school over $20,000 student loan. You got to take the loan, take it. Just make sure you're going to get that ROI on the back end.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, man, and your transparency in this, man.
No doubt, no doubt. Stu always has his moments of transparency. I've had a few today. And they call me E-Money for a reason. Stu anointed me with that name. And part of it is because E-Money made some bad money mistakes when he was younger. But I've learned from them. E-Money can be looked at positively or negatively, right? But I figured it out. And I want to make sure you do the same. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Hit me up. We can figure it out. Any final thoughts on this? Should you get a student loan conversation? Any final thoughts?
Two things for me. One, for everybody listening, look at me. Everybody listening, look at me. It depends. That was the biggest takeaway that I learned from E-Money today. One, it depends. Number two, it's not too late. It's not too late to invest in yourself, whether it's you investing in yourself personally or investing in your lineage, children or grandchildren. It's not too late to do it right. And the third one just came to me. It sounds like we have 100% consensus here. It's worth the return on investment if you do it. And then another one just came. Fourth, pay it back. Don't be like us. Pay it back. Or at least don't be like me. Pay it back.
Like, no, you said it right.
Pay it back.
Don't be like us.
It's worth it. It's worth it. So those are my 4 final thoughts. It depends.
Those are great takeaways.
It's worth it. pay it back. I forgot the other one. You can rewind it in here, but I was freestyling. It was 4 points. Pay it back. Yes, I think so. What about you? Final thoughts from you?
I was trying to find that post. So yeah, my final thoughts are this: student loan didn't stop me from investing in real estate. I view the loans now as an investment. Debt should be viewed in the future as well as the past. The future as well as the past. Let us think in, will it be beneficial in both time frames? If it won't, don't do it. And then, like I said, having invested so heavily in student loans, it makes it easy for me to get coaching and all that stuff. That's nothing. It's really nothing. Now, I'm trying to get in that Myron Golden mastermind. That's going to be something for me. I got to get my money up for that.
It's like $300K, right?
So, yeah, $300K or more. Because I think David Shan said he paid 3 or 150, but it was really more than that, some kind of way. But anyway, and here's my final thought about this. And I posted this: debt that's easy to get into is usually not good. And where I'll say that with the student loans, those private loans, they really took advantage of me, man. Because my credit score at the time was really high. And so I would get online and apply for a private loan that I didn't need, and they would give it to me in seconds. And that was all I feel like that was predatory because it's like I didn't even need that money. It wasn't related to my tuition. It was just a private loan. And they got me with that. They got me. So yeah, it was too easy. And so that should have been an indication that something was wrong. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. So we're wrapping up the student loan conversation. We hope that was helpful. Like Stu said, it really just depends on why you're going, and there's definitely an evaluation process, and hopefully we've done some justice with that. If you need some assistance, definitely reach out to me and I can help. All right.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So characters from corporate. This is our final characters from corporate for this season. If you're new to the show, this is where you get to write in if you're in corporate still, and we try to evaluate, is somebody a character, right? Are they doing some stuff they shouldn't do? Are they thinking about things the wrong way? Or is it the other people that are involved? And so we try to give up some game since we have some time in corporate. This week's characters from corporate, Stu, it comes from somebody. He says, "Peace, fellas. I'm a 49-year-old Gen Xer from Hampton, Virginia." Hey, shout out to Hampton. I've had some great
Shout out
times
to the DMV. Love it.
Yes, sir. I made my career in Washington, D.C. as an engineer. I just left my corporate job 4 months ago where I had a nice 6-figure salary and many perks. I just couldn't deal with the stress anymore. Well, maybe I could have, but I left anyway because I was tired of it. I have a family and I wonder, am I a character for not sticking it out longer? What do you all think, and what advice would you give me as a full-time entrepreneur with a family? Interesting. 49, Hampton, VA, was in corporate in DC, had a nice job, left. He says he couldn't take it anymore, but then he's kind of questioning it. And now he's out here as a full-time entrepreneur with a family. Is he a character?
Damn. It's too much information I'm missing. Got questions. You got a couple of bags saved up. You know, if it doesn't work out, I guess I don't really care about that if it doesn't work out. You know, are you in your midlife crisis? Is just something that you're just doing real quick? You know, I don't know. I don't know if I wouldn't say you're a character. I'm missing. I didn't hear anything about how passionate he was about this particular endeavor. Mm-hmm. I'm missing that. Like if he's like, man, I'm trying to go hard for this thing. I can't shake it. I've been trying to do this for 30 years and this opportunity is ripe now. And I saved up a few bags and from my job and I'm missing that. So okay. I'm not saying he's a character. I'm not saying that. I don't think I have enough information to even give an answer.
Okay.
I do know this one thing though, E, man. I know ladies, your wife, they want to feel secure. Mm-hmm. That could be a game changer. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I was reading something online the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I'm taking in a lot of content, fortunately and unfortunately. But it was something about one of these successful entrepreneurs that we always look at on Instagram. He was saying that, and I don't remember which one. Comfortability is the enemy of entrepreneurship. So I almost feel like the fact that he's thinking about whether he should have or not is good, because regardless of how much money you have, if he was too comfortable, that's probably not good for him if he had stayed there another 10 years, just for him as a person, because you obviously wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so you wouldn't have been happy even though you were comfortable. So are you a character? I mean, I would hope that you have some money available, and it would be nice to know, like Stu was saying, like, well, what business? I don't even know if I care about if you're passionate about it, but what business are you in? Is it a lucrative business? Is there a demand for it? And if there's not, that's cool. You can always pivot, or you can find a way to make whatever you're doing something that people want. Go out there and do your market research, build your network, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, you're not a character, but you got to follow your gut, man. You said you had enough, you out. So
Yeah,
no, I salute it.
you salute it. He's not a character.
Not a
Not a
character,
character.
man. I
Okay,
think a
yeah.
lot of people become characters when they're scared to leave. And I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
I don't think I have. I don't think he's. So I can't say he's a character. I don't. So I'm not saying you're a character, brother. By no stretch. I think you bring up a very good point too about it's less about the passion, but like, is this a real opportunity? Right. That's big. And I think there's also like I just have a lot of questions because a lot of us entrepreneurs, we only really a lot of times only promote when it and project. Really, we project ourselves as it's always good, and there's a side of it, man, and it's not always good.
Right.
I go through, and you know this personally, more times than I care to mention, where I'm like, this ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? Like, I
Same
need
here. It should get stressful.
you know.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's not sweet. Lots of people get paid every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not as an entrepreneur. I get it when I get it, and it may be, I'd like for it to be 30 days out the month. You know, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 0.
That's right.
Are you
Cash
ready
flow.
for it? You got to be built for it, bro. Because this
Yeah.
ain't for the faint of heart. It's not.
No doubt. I agree with that, man. You got to be a person that can deal with uncertainty, because there's no security blanket. And if you're not a person that can't deal with uncertainty, like, I don't know if I'm gonna make 20,000 next month and I got $30,000 worth of bills, but I'm gonna do everything I can. But can you deal with the fact that you might not make it? And what are you gonna do then? Are you prepared mentally for that? And that's a real. I would like us to do a show on that. And to that, I want to have. I didn't talk to Stu about this, but I want to do this real quick because I think we got a few minutes. Stu and I have had some private conversations about, even with this show, are we going to continue? What is the future of it? And honestly, there was some uncertainty there, and probably still is for us, because though we enjoy the show and the show has done extremely well, we have other things that we're involved in. We have goals for the show that we're still trying to meet, such as monetization and getting on some larger platforms and things of that nature. And so I think it ties into this conversation, because it's like, passion often isn't enough sometimes. There's other factors that come into play, and that's okay. I think we're okay with the uncertainty, but it's just something that's present in any type of entrepreneurship, even a podcast. It's just how it is.
Yeah. And we do talk about this, and I know passion isn't enough, but I think it better be there. I don't care what the business is. I think that's what sustains us, is the passion for it. Like, despite those days when it's tough, how bad do you want this thing? How bad do you want to win? And do you want to win so bad that you're willing to pivot? that you're willing to give up what you thought it was going to be and make it work. Like reinvent yourself in them. Nokia started out as a rubber tire manufacturer. And then they went into over the decades, started making cell phones. I don't know what they're doing now. Maybe they still do, but they pivoted. They just didn't give up on whatever it is that they were super, super passionate about. But it's not going to be, the passion is absolutely not going to be enough. And the other thing about entrepreneurship is it's tough trying to be a solopreneur. You got to figure out how to be a team, yo. You got to be a team.
Yeah.
Got to be a team.
No,
so
we should do an episode on that.
Let's do it, man. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, Eric and I think we said it in this conversation, and we're not giving up on the podcast.
No, we're not. We're
going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out.
We talked about it.
He said it. He said it. You all got check the tapes. He said it. Next season, he said it.
Yeah, we're going, and that's part of why I brought it up publicly, because it's just a deeper level of accountability. But yeah, we're going to figure it out. But we definitely have some goals that we want to. I think our first phase of goals we've met. The show is definitely viewed and streamed and all that. Well, the video could be better, but we don't run ads or anything like that. But the audio continues to be impressive. And just people coming to us saying that the episodes actually help them in some way. We've been good. We got a little brand website and all that. We have merch. So there's a lot, but we got to get it. We want to get it to the next level. And the next level is monetization and solving a clear problem for the guest. I think is a really big opportunity.
So give us all of your feedback, people. We need it. If you hate the show, tell us. And tell us why you hate it. If you love the show, tell us. And tell us why you love it. We really, really, really would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I want to say something about that real quick too. The feedback that we've gotten that stood out to me the most that wasn't positive is that we're not entertaining enough. I know somebody close to you told us that. Somebody close to me has told me that, and I understand that. But we're not going to do the F you, Stu, and we won't start the fight and all that. We're just not going to do that. So we're going to have to continue to hone in on that audience that is looking for thought-provoking conversation. And what gives me hope is to earn your leisure. Earn your leisure. They're not on here fighting and doing all this crazy stuff. They're not necessarily that energetic, but they're like really focused on serving a core audience. And they do a good job at it. And so that lets me know we can be successful with this type of show. It's just about making the right connections.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I promise you, it gets better from here.
No doubt. No doubt. This is our year, 2023. So, thank you all for tuning in, and we appreciate you. Absolutely. So do we have our pool artist for today?
We do, man. Last episode, we had some challenges with our platform. We had some challenges, man. We had to figure it out and found out that the challenge was actually pretty good. I hated that we had that challenge, but the challenge was we were out of space, man. We had maximized all the space for our platform, and it caused our platform to kind of lag and kind of lock up a little bit. And so we had to buy more space. So we've quadrupled our capacity for space on our platform, which is phenomenal. So we're back running smooth. I want to go back to the artist that we were trying to highlight last week or last episode, an artist by the name of New. Beautiful young lady. I believe she's out of Ohio, but I could be wrong. So New is going to be our spotlight artist of the week, NOU. You can catch her at poolofmusic.com. And so we're going to get into New. We're going to listen to the song Turn. And actually, I think I'm going to do it differently right now in real time. Instead of just playing the song on the platform, I'm going to let us watch the video.
All right, cool.
I think we'll
like that.
We'll watch the video. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just making the adjustments real quick here. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the video. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to share it. Here we go. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to hide us. Can you still hear me, brother? Okay, here we go. We're going to play some new.
You see, I'm loving under me, looking for good company. Left you on my dignity. You know I'm not too shy, I'm too sly. Had to get you out the way. It's goodbye on with my day. Always felt a bit afraid, but I'm too young to die. I know that you will be alright. Always felt the need to feed your fire. If only we weren't who we were, maybe then our love would take a turn. You know I think about you on the days when the sun gets shy and it rains. Probably wanna call you every day, but you know I'm too wise and won't cry. Had to get you out the way. It's goodbye on my day. Always felt a bit afraid, but I'm too young to die. I know that you will be alright. Always felt the need to feed your fire. If only we weren't who we were, maybe then our love would take a turn. Turn, turn. Maybe if the tables turn, you'd be a bit more concerned, and maybe then you would learn. It's my turn. Watch you burn right to the ground. Feel the pain when you throw me around. Light your name up in flames with the highs. But I know that you will be alright. Always felt the need to feed your fire. If only we weren't who we were, maybe then our love would take a turn. I know that you will be alright.
E-Money, what you think about this, man?
I thought it was really well done. Nice groove, a nice groove. Yeah, that's what she's done.
I like that jam. She got a couple other jams on there.
I listen to more of her stuff.
Yeah, man. Check out NOU, new, poolofmusic.com. She's our spotlight artist of the week.
All right, new. I like that.
Yeah.
Super dope. Super dope. All right,
man.
so we're at the end of season 6. We're coming back with 7 soon. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. And as always, peace.
Peace.
You won't believe all the things I didn't see.